successor of Tanki Online. It was meant to completely replace Tanki Online, or at least that was what the devs hoped for. It almost did, until Alternativa announced unpleasant changes to their plans during the game's development phase. There is one very specific unpleasant change they announced in one of the dev diary videos. That change was all it took to make a game with huge potential to be obliterated into the doom of failure. That's at least what I think. So, what happened exactly? How many mistakes did Alternativa make to destroy their own project? And what are those mistakes? I present to you this figure. I call it the hexagon of Tanki X failure. Why a hexagon? Because it has 6 sides, and from my reflection on Tanki X, there are 6 mistakes that Alternativa made. I will go through them in a chronological order, from the first mistake of Tanki X birth to the last one before its closure. First, Tanki X is a new game, or in other words, not transferring accounts and progress. At first, they planned to transfer our accounts to the new Tanki, but suddenly this plan was cancelled. This is the father of all mistakes in the failure of Tanki X. If there is any discussion about why Tanki X failed, this will be my main argument. But why is this a mistake? The answer is simple. Players invested years, emotions, and money into Tanki Online. Why would they start from zero in Tanki X and abandon their old progress? Sure, there are those who did, but the number of those who rejected is massive. I rejected the idea at first, but then I gave in. I gave in because I didn't spend anything in Tanki Online, and my rank was only 3 diamonds. So what was there for me to lose? Not much really, but for many others, there was a lot to lose. Second, graphics and optimization. Yes, the game looked a lot better than Tanki Online. The Tanki universe have never been as lively as in Tanki X. But it seemed like Alternativa forgot that most of their player base have extremely weak devices. The player base was surely not ready for a more detailed Tanki universe. And this could be a reason as to why Alternativa didn't transfer the progress to Tanki X. Even then, Tanki X was poorly optimized, and players complained about this on daily basis. There are other games which look even more beautiful and detailed than Tanki X, and they are well optimized. Take World of Tanks for example. Bigger maps, more players in a single match, and tanks' geometry could exceed 50,000 polygons. Yet it is well optimized. Tanki X on the other hand is barely optimized. The tanks are only 7,000 polygons, and there aren't many details in the game compared to World of Tanks. Third, frequent change of team and plans. Alternativa changed the team and plans of Tanki X so many times that there is no clear and direct path for the game to go through. What do they want to do with Tanki X? Nobody knows. At first, it was meant to be the second Tanki Online 2.0. Then it became just a graphically better version of Tanki Online, with a promise that it will be a way better game than TO itself. Later on, they tried to change it into an esports-focused game, or Overwatch but with tanks, and this is where it failed horribly. The game didn't have many players, and many of them were playing Tanki X because it is a casual game. However, Alternativa shoved competitive gameplay down everyone's throat, and the majority didn't like it. As for the team, there were 2 very well recognized devs that were communicative with the community, but both were removed from the team. In the last months of Tanki X, they brought another communicative and experienced dev, but it was too late. Fourth, working on multiple Tanki projects simultaneously. Alternativa knows and acknowledges the many capabilities of the Unity engine, including the ease of cross-platform. You can work on the same project, with the same code, and have it work on multiple platforms. However, since they decided to make Tanki X as a completely different game, that means they also have to work on Tanki Online, which is coded differently. They chose to do it the hard way, to code 4 different Tanki games, each with its very own coding solution and language. Why is this a bad thing, you may ask? Well, why code develop the same game on different coding languages when you can code it on one coding language and have it work on perhaps all existing platforms? They were wasting so much time and effort which could have been spent on fixing the flaws with TankyX, and maybe make it great again. By the way, they have to code everything they do in one version to all other versions. Why mobile version is still missing some stuff from PC? Because they have to code it all again from scratch. This is where Unity is superior to all the solutions they tried. Fifth, milk the failure with pay to win. TankyX failure was very clear from the first year of the game. Not many players moved from TO to TX as Alternativa hoped, and TankyX didn't get enough attention. So why not get some G out of it while it is alive? There were so many cheap ways they monetized the game with just to get some quick cash. But let's focus on the pay to win part. There is a name that strikes fear in many TankyX mercenaries, and that name is Arms Race. The name of an update that introduced terrific pay-to-win to an ambitious project. I don't play TankyX. What happened? Well, that update made it so that your tank level doesn't make it any stronger, but rather the modules you equip to your tank. The better upgraded your modules are, the more powerful your tank is. However, upgrading the modules was a pain in the butt, because to upgrade them, you need blueprints. And those blueprints were only available through a container that costs premium currency. You can still get the containers by playing, but that was extremely slower than just throwing cash on the game. Even then, those containers had a ridiculous RNG element to them. I could go on for even more, but that is what happened in a nutshell. Sixth, giving up and leaving the game to rot. After they realized that all hope is lost, they let the game to rot and focused their team on Tanky Online and King Hardcore. They introduced cheaply made cosmetics to try to milk the game before its inevitable death. The developer Stormtrooper was a glimpse of hope for this game. He showed us that if the devs communicate with the players and listen to their feedback, then a game can indeed become a successful project. But his arrival was too late. So, what now? There is an important question to ask. What are they going to do with all of this almost 6 years of work? Are they going to just throw it in the trash? I hope not. It had a lot of potential, and it is sad to see it wasted like this. The answer to the question is unknown, but many hope for a positive answer. If you think TankyX failure is sad, then there is another sad thing as well. In an interview article, Alternativa thinks that Tanky Online won't live for too long. That's a sad thing to think about. Or it could be a great thing if you think that Tanky is the worst game. That's a completely different topic. But if we look at Tanky itself and its universe, I think it have a lot of potential. A very unique idea, with a unique story in TankyX. Tanky Universe has been around for more than a decade, and I am happy to be part of it since it and I were young, playing since 2011 or 12. In the meantime, they plan to bring TankyX tanks as skins in Tanky Online, so that means we can kind of relive the memories we had in TankyX. Something in me tells me that TankyX can be revived though.